Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of NB8 right here on Wood TV. Plus, Phil Pinarski here, joined once again by AJ Evans. AJ, really another awesome week of basketball. I keep saying it, but I'm just glad that basketball is back. Now we've got college basketball as well. I mean, my TV, honestly, is probably going to get tired of just the amount of basketball that I've been watching. Another really great week, but again, we do want to spend some time talking about a pretty big matter as it relates to not just myself, but really the state of the NBA, and that's what's going on in Memphis right now. When we first got started, I told myself I didn't want to make this show all about the Grizzlies. People want to hear about the Pistons. They want to check out on the rest of the league. I didn't want to flood everybody with too much Grizzlies news or too much Grizzlies talk, but given the fact that the Grizzlies took on the Pistons last night in a pretty close game, it got pretty close towards the end there. Detroit was able to come out with the win there. But since Grizzlies took on Detroit, and the fact that really the top story is Ja Morant and the drama surrounding him and the Grizzlies, I figured that'd be the perfect way to really kick off this show. Real quick, for anybody that may have missed anything regarding what we're going to be talking about Ja Morant, after the Grizzlies played the Lakers in the first game of the NBA Cup, there was a lot of talk about Ja's, I guess, abilities or, kind of his demeanor during the second half of that game. And there was a whole big media tirade. He told reporters to go ask the coaching staff. That was sort of his sentiment there. And then we flash forward. He got suspended for a game against the Toronto Raptors. He was back for the Detroit Pistons game, but again, still kind of the same thing. Even his post-game comments after that game, still a little shaky if you're a Grizzlies fan like me. AJ, as somebody who's kind of on the outside with no real skin in the game, what did you make of Ja's comments after that Lakers loss?
Well, for one, I didn't think they were that bad. I thought he was clearly frustrated, and I thought he wanted to make it clear that if people wanted to ask questions about the team's performance or his performance, that they should direct them to the coaching staff, which I think is an entirely appropriate question at that point. I think he obviously said a lot without saying a lot towards the end when he said that essentially not playing him would be best from what he had been told. But if he had been told that, I think that's his prerogative to repeat it. So, I didn't understand everything that was going on in the moment, but I didn't understand, I guess, the backlash that he received on the end of that. And furthermore, I didn't understand why in the world the Grizzlies decided to suspend him for one game. I don't see how his comments at all were detrimental. They might have hurt a coach's feelings, but last time I checked, when players get their feelings hurt, the coaches don't subsequently get suspended.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think, when I first heard the comments, I think a lot of Grizzlies fans, and myself included, I'm guilty of this, jumped to the worst possible case scenario, that there's uproar in the organization. There's turmoil there. Ja Morant's not happy. He's your star player. What are you going to do? He's fighting with the coaching staff now. And I kind of took a seat back, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to let's see what happens here. Then the suspension came, and I knew that there was something probably a little bit more afoot. But he comes back. He's starting in this game against Detroit, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, maybe there's some grown-ups in this locker room. Maybe they were able to kind of come to a certain agreement about things. And then really the game kind of went on, and I just saw the same things, not from a standpoint of Ja Morant's intensity, but really just from a coaching staff that clearly did not want to meet in the middle, I guess. Really a big issue, I think, that I don't think anybody who's watched Grizzlies games would deny this, is the fact that there is a play style that Ja Morant really works in. That was kind of how the Grizzlies were able to be so good so fast with him a couple of years ago. And slowly they've tried to transition to a less dominant Ja Morant into a more team basketball. And on paper, that sounds great. You want everybody to get a little bit more action, a little bit more chances to score the ball, a little bit more star power, let them show off what they can actually do. But Ja Morant is the one that's taking the brunt of that side of things. He's not getting as many minutes. Last year was a big issue with these starters, is that they were playing 25 minutes. These are guys that are looking to perform and help this team win, and they're getting as much minutes as guys off the bench who, you're bringing in to kind of give those guys a breather. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense with this new coach, Tuomas Isolo. We thought that he was going to be kind of that guy that brings Ja Morant back, but he's made it very clear that he likes the idea of his stars playing 25, 30 minutes and, giving everybody more shorter stints on the court. And Ja is not a fan of that. Ja wants to be out there and everything like that. So kind of seeing that it did not really get fixed against Detroit on Monday night, I really don't know how to feel right now. I think a big question I want to ask you, AJ, is just, do you think that Ja's days in Memphis are numbered just from what you've seen? And, we were talking a little bit about this as well before the show even got started. Just this team was on the verge of being great, and then they've they got they're failures of their own success in a sense. They got way too good, way too fast, and now they're just kind of slipping back. And if they don't reach that next step, it kind of seems like a failure a little bit. So given everything that's happened over these past couple of years, and specifically with this week, I mean, do you think Ja's days are numbered in Memphis?
I do. I think they are numbered.
It's worse news you could have said, AJ.
I would love to think otherwise, but right now he seems to be very frustrated, and I think the thing that I would like to get some clarity on is how high up is this frustration going? Mm-hmm. Is it going all the way up to the guys in the front office, the people who are building this team? Because if so, then his days are very more than likely numbered. But the fact that he and the coaching staff, a brand new coaching staff, are not seeing eye to eye less than 10 games into the season is disturbing. Mm-hmm. It clearly is. And Ja is a premium talent in this league. I think that has been sort of overlooked over these last few years with everything that has gone on in Memphis, but he is a special player, and he's a very dynamic point guard, and he's one of the best players that we have when he's healthy and when he's on the floor. Having said that, he has not looked like himself to start this season, and it's been troubling because, like I said, this team needs him, and he's one of the most exciting forces that the NBA has. So even seeing their game last night against Detroit, it was my first time really seeing this team up close. I had seen parts of certain games, but I hadn't seen a Memphis Grizzlies game in full this year yet. I was confused as to what they were trying to do on offense, and I was also puzzled at Ja's play. He seems disengaged, and his mind seems to be elsewhere, and I don't really see that. It's hard to necessarily see that with certain guys, but they pan to him a couple of times, and I saw him just shaking his head, staring at the floor. I think it's very telling that he's upset, and I do hope that there is a clear resolution and that he can get back to performing the way that we're all accustomed to seeing him in a Grizzlies uniform. But as of right now, it does not look good at all, Phil. And I just. The fact that these frustrations are spilling out onto the floor the way that they are is disturbing to me. Even I don't know if you saw this, Phil, but Draymond Green mentioned somewhere in an interview or something that he spoke with Steph after their game against the Grizzlies, and he said, Ja doesn't look like himself. Like, he's healthy, but something's off. And Stephen Curry said, maybe it's a silent protest. And Green said, yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking. So I don't know, but what I do know is that oftentimes, and you and I spoke about this, Phil, when a player feels as if they're being short-sighted or wronged by the coaching staff or the front office, the player is often the one who takes the brunt of the blame in the public eye.
Absolutely.
Because we don't really see the behavior of the coaching staff or the front office because all of that happens behind closed doors. And the situation doesn't explode until usually the player does. And then that player is always at fault. And that's just not fair. Unfortunately, it's just the way things have been for decades. For as long as professional sports have been around, that's how it's been. But it's not fair. And there's another side to this story. I'm eager to find out. I hope one day we do find out. But until then, I hope that this situation is able to be resolved because it's not fun for anybody. But most importantly, like I always say, the worst thing you can do to a player is to throw away their prime. Ja is supposed to be playing some of the best basketball of his career right now. He's still a young man. He's still super talented. He's healthy, which you haven't always been able to say over these last few years. I just want to see him out there doing what he does best.
Right. No, and I feel like there are a lot of Grizzlies fans out there that are saying, kind of feel that same sentiment of like, let's move on from this.
Right.
Let's stop the Ja Morant experiment and try and get as much as we can in a trade, a deal to maybe another team, and potentially restart another rebuild. I do not see it that way at all. Again, I as somebody who has been a Grizzlies fan for decades now, and as somebody who has watched Ja since he first came into the league, I know what kind of player he is. I know the kind of guy he is. I've seen it. I've seen him care about Memphis and stand up for Memphis when a lot of people diss on the city, or maybe they're talking bad about the organization itself. He's always been there to back them up and to say, no, you guys have it all wrong. And I've always really appreciated that about him. And I think it's time we show that same appreciation to him as well, because you touched on it. He is one of the best players in the league when healthy. When given the opportunity, it is very difficult to say that he's not one of the top players in the NBA. He's a guy that can get to the rim at his size. It's incredible to watch. He's got the highlight plays. He's got an overall game that is fun to watch for fans. And given everything that's happened the past couple of years off the court, I mean, I can see why people may be turning sour against him. But if he's saying something that he's not liking with the way the team is moving, I think the front office has to hear him out, right? I mean, when in a situation like this, when you've got a team and a clear star player, it's not like he's battling it out with a couple of other really star players. He is the star in Memphis. When he's not getting heard from, I guess, from the front office, or, this begs into the question, was he even in the rooms when they decided to hire Isholo as the full-time head coach from the interim? I mean, it begs a lot of questions. I mean, this is something that we don't really see that often in the NBA.
Yeah, and we have a tendency to change the standards depending on the star and the circumstances, but let's call it for what it is. We all understand the politics of professional sports. It is customary at this point to consult with your top player before making any kind of big personnel decision. A lot of players are consulted before trades are made, before their teammates are gone. So it's completely fair and reasonable for Ja to want to have a say in this team's direction and this team's future, because essentially that's his future. Those two things are intertwined with one another. Even if he gets dealt, that still is a big dictator of the Memphis Grizzlies' future for the next 5 years to a decade, and possibly more, because of the pieces you'll get in return. So the fact that it seems like he doesn't seem to at least have much of a say in how the team is playing on the floor every night, I can't wrap my head around it, because like I said, he's one of the most dynamic talents that we have, and I don't understand how you could put a guy like that in a shell or make him feel as if he can't be himself, because that's what's disturbing me most, the fact that he doesn't seem comfortable in this role, and he doesn't seem comfortable in a Grizzlies uniform, and that's very sad, considering where this franchise was a few years ago, like you said, Phil.
Right. Well, and then you even touched on it with Draymond and Steph Curry even saying that. I mean, the fact that other people in the league are also noticing it. Again, something is very off. And again, another thing that people kept touching on was the fact that the systems are kind of clashing between what the coaching staff wants to do and what Ja is kind of used to and can kind of thrive in. And I've always said this, I think you can't implement a system without knowing the team around you.
Correct.
I think that the idea of playing guys shorter minutes and shorter stints, but more intensity, I like that. That sounds great on paper. When you don't have a team that can actually do that, I mean, Ja is your offense for the most part. When he's off the floor, who's getting you that shot? Who's moving around? I know systems usually take a long time for them to kind of get in the way, but I don't think you should be throwing away games to try to implement this system when you still don't have these guys or any sign that you're going to sign these guys in the future to make this system actually work out. If you had another star, if you had another ball-dominant guard that you could bring off the bench and kind of facilitate when Ja needs a break, totally get that. But in this instance, especially with no real backup point guard right now, how do you not give Ja at least 35, 40 minutes? He's still young. He's dying to get out there and wants to play basketball. And it's not like you're sending him out there and you're getting bad minutes out of him. He brings it every single time he's out on the court, and he is your offensive engine, kind of like Tyrese Halliburton with the Indiana Pacers.
No
I think this is a very clear-cut decision, at least in my mind. I think there are too many egos in the way right now that are kind of getting into that and, again, causing more and more drama for Memphis.
Yeah, and like you said, Phil, college sports and professional sports, it's all about adaptability, particularly with coaching. No one cares if a guy gets hurt or if a guy goes down. You got to find a way to win games.
Absolutely.
And like you said, you do not have time, regardless of whatever circumstances you're at, especially if you're a new head coach, to lose games trying to implement a system that's clearly not working. If it's not working, then maybe you need to do something else. It's not fair to put that on anyone else or to, make your star player feel uncomfortable or dissatisfied with the way things are going because you're trying to insert something that you think is best, because what you think may not matter if the results aren't there, or they won't matter ultimately. That's how sports works. So, but I want to ask you, Phil, do you think his days in Memphis are numbered?
I really wish you wouldn't ask me that. I've been kind of toying with it. Obviously, I want him to stay at Memphis. I want him to be a Memphis Grizzly forever. Whether he leaves or stays, I am always going to root for Ja Morant. I, again, have enjoyed watching him these past couple of years. I don't want to say his days are numbered. I think the front office, though, just from what they've shown so far this year, and kind of you hear things here and there about everything that's happened off the court with Ja these past couple of years, I think they are looking if somebody will give them a good enough offer. I think that's going to be it. If somebody is offering kind of what we saw with that Desmond Bane trade on the offseason, multiple first-round picks, some additional veteran help, I would not be surprised if the Grizzlies do pull the plug on that. I just think you're going to make a lot of Grizzlies fans, myself included, very upset if they do that instead of trying to just work it out behind the scenes right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think change is imminent and inevitable. Hopefully that change is internal. But like you said, if people want to be stuck in their ways, then I guess you have to get different players within your regime.
Got to figure it out. Come on, guys. Let's get back into this and everything. Let's get back in the boardroom. Let's figure this out and everything. I've got too much mental capacity riding on this season right now. It can't be over already.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, AJ, I think I've spent enough time kind of complaining about the Grizzlies right now. Let's move on, though, and talk about some happier notes, that being the Detroit Pistons. Of course, they did beat the Grizzlies on Monday night. They're riding a 3-game winning streak, and it's all being led, really, by Cade Cunningham. I mean, he had a great year last year. An even better year this year. We touched on it a little bit last week about possibly right now all NBA selection, no doubt. He's been having a great year, and it kind of continued last night. I mean, he was the reason why that lead that the Pistons had didn't diminish all the way, and they were able to still come out on top.
I completely agree. If you're not paying attention to what Cade Cunningham is doing, then
what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what people are doing if they're not. This is the best basketball of his career that he's playing so far. I mean, not only on paper, but you can see the game has clearly slowed down for him. He is, it's crazy. He's only played with Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert for a few games this season. Like I said, not even 10 games, but everyone seems so comfortable. And that's a testament to him and his playmaking and to the coaching staff as well for implementing this kind of offense that is clearly working. I think one thing that stood out to me over these last couple of games is his pick and roll dominance with Jalen Duren. Yes. Those two have had insane chemistry, and the symmetry between them has been remarkable so far. Cade is quickly able to read and react accordingly out of pick and rolls, and he's been able to throw so many terrific lobs. It's like a quarterback throwing it to a receiver in the end zone, putting it in a place where only he can get it. Right. And Duren has responded accordingly, and the two of those guys have sort of led the wave, at least in the half-court setting. And then when everybody's in transition, you can almost forget about it. Cade is always going to make the right decision. Asar Thompson has continued to play at a really, really high level. He's not only defending better, but his offense is really coming together. His jump shot is still a ways away, but he's so much more comfortable with his role, and he's been such a great ball handler, secondary playmaker in this offense. So I can't say enough. And I think the thing that's most notable about Cade's dominance so far is that he's really taking care of the ball.
Yes.
He had 21 points and 18 assists against the Mavericks and 1 turnover. I mean, those
are unreal numbers.
Yeah, in his game against the Magic, he had 30, 10, and 6, 0 turnovers. It's insane. And unlike Ja, Phil, I hate to do it. Cade is playing a lot of minutes. He's shouldering a lot of minutes, and he's making the most of it. And it's not coming with turnovers on the back end. You no longer have to accept that part that comes with the high usage rate. All of a sudden, the bad parts are sort of being cut out. So he's been as impressive as one could ask for, and he's also carrying his weight defensively. I know some people might be worried about the load he's carrying, but I think he's doing a fine job. I think he's simply just playing really high-level basketball right now. This team and this offense is relying on him as they should be. He is as good of a guard as there is in basketball right now.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment in that Grizzlies game. I think it was in the first or second quarter, and Cade was out on an island with Ja Morant. Nobody wants to be out on that island. I've never seen a guy who maybe doesn't get talked about as being a great perimeter defender. The way he was able to stay in front of Ja, keep him from scoring, forced a turnover. I mean, that is something that just doesn't get talked about with him. Yeah. And you touched on the usage rate. How often do you see a guy who's throwing that many assists, who's got the ball every single possession when he's on the court, have that few turnovers, those few mistakes? That is going a long way. And you can see the rest of the Pistons team really kind of picking up on that because they're all playing incredibly well because they know Cade's going to put us in the perfect position to score. We just have to execute.
Yeah, and to me it also speaks to what a marvelous job J.B. Bickerstaff has done since he's been
former Grizzlies coach.
I mean, getting your star player to buy in to defend every night and getting a group of young guys to defend every single night. It's one of the toughest jobs in basketball to do. There have been so many coaches who have tried and failed because when you have a young core, everyone wants to score, everyone wants to win, but everyone doesn't want to do all of the things in between. And there's just been a collective buy-in from almost the time he's walked through the door, and it's just been so great to see. But yeah, no, Cade, I think the thing you can ask for, the one thing that people could ask for most out of this is that Cade is always trying on defense. He may get beat, he may be tired, he may not always stay in front of his man, but he's going to put an effort there. And that's all you can ask for out of your superstar point guard at the end of the day, who's doing so much on offense.
Yes. Now, the Pistons, of course, on a 3-game winning streak. They currently sit at 5-2, which is tied for 4th in the Eastern Conference right now. So, again, only big things planned ahead for Detroit. They take on the Utah Jazz tomorrow night on, I believe that's Wednesday. I'm trying to figure this out when we're recording this. But, they're taking on the Utah Jazz again. Another team that has surprised a few people. They're at 3-4 this year. What do you hope to see just kind of continuing that same sort of win streak and the same sort of intensity that they've been bringing when they take on Utah?
Yeah, I hope to see Duncan Robinson continue to get comfortable. I think he's finally starting to settle in. I believe he had 18 points in their most recent game against the Grizzlies. He shot really well, I think things are starting to come together for him. He's a guy who really has to know his place within an offense to really be impactful. He moves around a lot. He's always cutting. He's always looking, to get into his three-pointer. But he's also a more than capable cutter and diver towards the rim. He got a few layups and opportunities in the paint last night against the Grizzlies. So I'm looking to see him get more comfortable. I want to see Asar Thompson continue to do what he does. And another wrinkle that I think the Pistons offense is sort of adding that I think that I've really liked to see is that they have Cade playing more off the ball, which I think is allowing him to conserve some of his energy, and then also too to just make him a little more dangerous. He can act as a cutter or even as a secondary playmaker in some sets. So I'm looking to see those wrinkles and just to continue to see them do well. And obviously I think you can always defend at an even higher level no matter where you are. But so far right now, I mean, the Pistons have a top 5 defense in basketball. Their defensive rating is 5th, I believe, and they lead the league in blocks with more than 7 a night. So it's been really exciting and encouraging to see, and I just hope they're able to keep it up.
Yeah, no, and they're fun to watch too. I mean, the lobs to Duren, the Cade making all the crazy plays. I mean, Isaiah Stewart had a really big game against Memphis. So again, he always is fun to watch on the court. So again, a lot riding on the Pistons right now. It's a good time to be a Detroit basketball fan. AJ, let's kind of spin around the rest of the league now and kind of go over some of the best things and some of the worst things that we saw in this second week of NBA action. Let's start with some positive notes. Who is your team? Who has been probably had the best second week of the NBA in your mind?
Best second week, there are 2 teams that come to mind. I think the Sixers are still impressing me personally. They're 5-1 so far this year. VJ Edgecombe looks like he could be a Rookie of the Year candidate. Tyrese Maxey is still doing well, and they're supposedly getting ready to get Jared McCain back. And this is all without the 2 guys that are carrying the heaviest weight on their payroll in Paul George and Joel Embiid. I believe Paul George is second highest paid on that roster. But nonetheless, those are the 2 guys that they're really relying on, to make a push this postseason. So they've been really exciting to see, and I'm encouraged to see how good these guys have been. Tyrese Maxey is an ascending star, and I think people are really beginning to take note of that. And VJ Edgecombe is turning a lot of heads. And the Chicago Bulls are also playing at a really high level.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey has been exceptional. He's averaging 22 points a game, 8 assists, 9 rebounds, and he's shooting the ball quite well, too. He's shooting about 50% from the field and 40% from three. So he's guiding this Bulls offense to greater heights. And obviously, they're another well-coached team, coached by Billy Donovan. So those two teams have impressed me a lot so far.
Yeah, I actually was going to pick the Bulls at first, but I'm still a little worried. I'm still a little hesitant to say that they're the surprise team this year because I don't know how this is going to work in a couple of weeks from now. But they're playing great basketball right now. Don't want to take anything away from Chicago. But honestly, the team that has had the best week in my mind are the LA Lakers. At the beginning of when we first started this, I said they weren't going to make the playoffs. I am already regretting that. They look incredible. And they don't even have LeBron right now. Luka didn't even play. And they are getting so much production out of so many guys that, Anthony Edwards had the viral moment when he didn't know who number 12 on the Lakers was. Oh, that was Jake LaRavia, former Grizzly as well. Yeah. He's been having a really great stretch shooting the ball. I mean, you look at Austin Reeves alone, who, again, on a given night with LeBron's there, he's your third option on offense. He's right now 4th in the NBA with 31 points per game. He's also 4th in the NBA in assists with just over 9 a game as well. You're doing all this without LeBron. You're doing all this winning. I mean, again, I regret not putting them in the playoffs. They are looking like a top seed out west again.
Yeah, Reeves is playing out of his mind. And they have him on such a bargain of a deal.
Exactly.
I think he's on a 4-year, $54 million deal. They're getting so much production out of him. He's as legitimate of a third threat as you could ask for. And like you said, the scary part is that LeBron isn't even back yet. So, and Luka has played at an exceptionally high level, too, when he's been healthy. So, I was high on the Lakers, Phil, at least for the regular season. We don't know just yet. Verdict is still out, but the results look promising so far.
So far, yes. No, again, a great job by J.J. Redick and that coaching staff as well. Kind of just dealing with everything and bringing in all these new faces and then getting them ready to go to start off the season. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Lakers probably one of the more fun teams to watch right now. We started out pretty negative on this show, AJ. It only makes sense that we kind of end a little bit negative. Teams that really kind of have caught your eye for the wrong reasons in the second week. Is there one team that kind of jumps out to you?
I mean, I hate to dwell on it, Phil, but the Grizzlies. It's been troubling to see, to see the start that they've gotten off to this year, and then to see how disengaged Ja Morant looks. And I told you this a little bit when I watched last night, but there were times where I was literally confused as to what they were trying to do on offense. I didn't know, and there were a handful of times where Ja seemed to settle for jumpers and just bad shots, and things just don't look good right now, and it's concerning because he's too great of a player for this offense to look as just discombobulated as it does. And not to mention, and this isn't putting any guys above anyone else, but there are certain superstars that lift their teammates and that truly make them look better than what they may be. And then there are other superstars and stars around this league who are great scorers, and that's it. They're very individual guys. They score, they give you what you need as far as production. They go above and beyond that sometimes, but you have to put complementary pieces around them to really lift the entire team. Ja is a part of the former. He makes guys better. He will lift a franchise. Yes. And so to see how depleted this team looks so far, and to see this offense is, I keep saying it, but it's been disturbing. So I think they have had probably the worst week in basketball. Your star
probably had the worst start to the season, maybe other than New Orleans and Brooklyn, who have yet to win a game. But other than that, it's been real spooky. It was appropriate for all those comments to be made on Halloween night because things have been really spooky around Memphis regarding this team. I was also going to pick Memphis, but figured we kind of touched on them quite a bit already this episode. So I wanted to throw out another team that I think has been kind of off to a really bad start this year, that being the Los Angeles Clippers. They're 3-3 right now. They do have a couple of wins, but they had to squeak by New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans almost got that first win against them if it wasn't for Kawhi's heroics. But again, I think there's still a lot coming up later on this season. You know, people are already still talking about potential suspensions for Kawhi and maybe some additional punishments for the Clippers regarding all the back pay scandals that were happening in the offseason. So I think maybe they're just, you know, trying to stay above water as long as they can until the NBA kind of comes down with them. But yeah, they've really struggled this year. Again, 3-3. This was a team that on paper I thought was going to be really, really good, but again, kind of just struggling out of the gate so far.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of impending drama. I think that's, you know, getting ready to happen there. They've got a storm of their own brewing. But I wasn't optimistic about the Clippers. Like I said, I would love to be wrong, but the health thing has always scared me away. It's kept me away, and with everything else going on, there's no telling what this team will look like a few months from now.
Yeah, well, I put the Clippers in the playoffs. You think I could just switch out and just keep it at LA, you know, just switch them out for the Lakers maybe? Well, that's all the time we have for today on this edition of NB8. I want to thank AJ again for stopping by. We'll be back again next week to go over another awesome week of NBA basketball.